a French proposal for an immediate emergency 48-hour ceasefire to allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. As Israeli air and sea attacks against the Strip continued into its fifth day, basic food supplies in Gaza are running low. Hospitals are struggling to cope with the rising casualties. Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesperson Yigal Palmor said any plan for a truce would have to make certain minimum demands on Hamas.
They need to guarantee the cessation of rocket shooting. They need to guarantee the cessation of terror activities by Hamas from Gaza. They need to contain some sort of guarantee that will stop the smuggling of weapons and explosives into Gaza. Short of that, no truce plan can hold water.
4 Israeli citizens, including 2 Arab Israelis, have been killed by rockets from the Gaza Strip since Israel began its offensive on Saturday. Nearly 400 Palestinians have been killed and at least 1,600 injured. Latest reports indicate Israeli bombs have hit the network of tunnels under the Egypt-Gaza border that many have described as a, quote, lifeline for the Palestinian people because it's been a major channel for smuggling in basic supplies from Egypt. Israel maintains the tunnels are used to smuggle weapons. And the Izzeddin al-Qassam brigades, the armed wing of Hamas, released a video statement Tuesday warning it would increase rocket attacks if Israel considers a ground invasion or the bombing doesn't stop.
If you enter the Strip, the land of Gaza will turn into a volcano and explode in the faces of your defeated soldiers. We promise you that if you enter Gaza, the children of Gaza will collect pieces of your soldiers.
Meanwhile, Hamas spokesperson Fawzi Barhoum said international peace efforts are too focused on equating the situation in Gaza and Israel.
Regarding the talk about the ceasefire and engaging in calm, as they say, at the current circumstances, is an act of equating between the victim and the jailer. What is required at this moment and immediately is an Arab, Islamic, and international effort to stop this aggression, lift the siege, open the crossings, and a rebuilding of the Gaza Strip.
And inside Israel, the hawkish Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu rebuffed calls for a truce. He said on Tuesday the international community had to choose between Hamas and, quote, the rest of humanity. Netanyahu, who's leading the polls ahead of the elections in February, said a government under his leadership would use, quote, all means necessary to end Hamas's rule in Gaza.
So now the international community has a question, and I turn it back to our critics, and I say, you have to take a stand today. You have to tell the terrorists that this is an illegitimate operation. You cannot say both Israel and Hamas are symmetrically blamed. They're not. One side is to blame, the side that targets civilians and hides behind civilians, that's Hamas. The other side represents the rest of humanity. Now choose.
I'm joined right now on the phone from Tel Aviv by the Israeli lawmaker Dov Khenin. He is a member of the Hadash party, a Jewish Arab party, also known as the Democratic Front for Peace and Equality. Khenin's been speaking out against Israel's military operation. We welcome you to Democracy Now!, Dov Khenin.
Hello, how are you?
It's good to have you with us. We are also joined via Democracy Now! Video stream by the nephew of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's at Brown University. We're speaking to him in Providence, Rhode Island. He's an Israeli conscientious objector. His name is Jonathan Benartzi. He also is a member of the Hadash party. I'm going to start with a member of parliament in Israel. I'd like to start off by asking the response in Israel right now to the pounding of Gaza by the Israeli military. Dov Khenin.
Well, the most important thing to realize is that there is an opposition inside Israel to the war and to everything going on right now in Gaza. This opposition is a Jewish-Arab one. On Saturday night, we had a demonstration in Tel Aviv of 2,000 young people, mainly Jews, and there are a lot of demonstrations all over Israel of Jews and Arabs opposing the war policy of the current government. This opposition is growing steadily. It is very important to know this and to understand that there are other voices in Israeli society who do not accept the war and believe there is a better alternative for Israelis and Palestinians alike.
Jonathan Benartzi, as you listen to your uncle, who is vying to lead Israel in the February elections, Benjamin Netanyahu, what are your thoughts today?
Well, it's not, it's not only my uncle, it's the voices of most Israelis, and what's worrying is it's the voices of many, although there are many who, as Dov said, many Israelis who do oppose this, there are far more Israelis who blindly support this. And, even given the, war in Lebanon of 2.5 years ago, where, Israel killed so many people, and yet emerged the loser by all accounts of that endeavor. They once again support something similar, which is bound for failure only after collecting hundreds or thousands of bodies of dead innocent people. I'm speaking to you here not as anyone's nephew or anything like that, but just as someone who's, speaking as an Israeli. I'm not an American, and trying to speak out to Americans to tell them you don't have to support Israel blindly. Not everything that Israel does is holy, and sometimes you have to speak firmly to Israel and tell our government, stop doing this.
Jonathan Benartzi, you are the first Israeli soldier to be court-martialed and jailed. Explain what your refusal was first about.
I refused to join the military for pacifist reasons, and I was joined by others who refused for pacifist and also political reasons regarding the occupation. This was around 2002, and I was jailed for roughly 1.5 years in Israeli military prison. Of course, it never made it to mainstream American media. It did make it to European media, but America, in that sense, America is actually even worse than Israel, because in Israel it was a public discussion. In America, it was completely blocked from the American people.
Dov Khenin, the response of the Israeli government is that this is not equal, that it was Hamas that broke the ceasefire, that they continue to fire rockets into Israel. They have killed 4 Israelis, 2 of them Arab Israelis, that this is their fault. Your response to that?
Well, my response is, of course, I do not accept the politics of Hamas. I think that Hamas is a disaster for the Palestinians, and it doesn't have any political program of how to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. However, when I hear these speeches of right-wing Israelis, it makes me wonder. They do not see the fault of Israeli government and Israeli army in whatever happening in Gaza. And, the things happening there are really bad. A lot of people are dead there. What is their fault, And the most important thing to realize is that there is an alternative. We should not go along the line of the extremists. We should not go along the line of total war between Israelis and Palestinians for generations. We should have another option, which is much better and possible. And that is the option of achieving a real and substantive peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians. This is the possibility that the Israeli government do not accept. This is the problem.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the opposition leader, running to head Israel in February, said Hamas openly declared its goal to eradicate the state of Israel from the face of the earth. They're aligned with Iran that openly declares its goal to eradicate Israel from the face of the earth. You make peace with those of your enemies who are reconciled to peace. Jonathan Benartzi, your response.
Well, you know what? Maybe someone should go to Israel and poll Jewish Israelis how many of them think Palestinians should be eradicated off the face of the earth. You'd be surprised at the results, you know. So, these,
explain that further.
Well, when you're in Israel, people there are very. I'm not a sociologist, so I would find it very hard to explain. It would be very interesting